When Greg Gutfeld, one of Fox News's most recognizable and sharp-tongued television personalities, steps off camera, he returns to a world shaped in large part by a woman most people know very little about. Elena Moussa, his wife, is not a figure who courts attention or chases headlines. She is, in many ways, the opposite of everything the modern media landscape rewards. And yet, within the fashion industry, her name carries genuine weight. Her story is one of quiet ambition, creative evolution, and a deliberate choice to let the work speak louder than the personality behind it. Elena's journey began in Russia, where she built her earliest professional identity as a model. Those formative years in front of the camera gave her something invaluable, a deep, first-hand understanding of how fashion functions as a visual language. Modeling is often misunderstood as a passive profession, but for someone with Elena's sensibility, it became an education in movement, composition, and the way clothing interacts with the human body. She absorbed the discipline of the industry, learned its rhythms, and developed an aesthetic instinct that would define everything she did afterward. Her transition away from modeling was not a retreat, but an evolution. She moved into the role of photo editor at Maxim Russia, shifting from the front of the camera to the creative decisions made behind it. This was a significant pivot, and it revealed a mind that was drawn not just to looking good, but to shaping how images communicate stories. As a photo editor, she developed her eye for composition, pacing, and visual narrative, skills that are far more technical and cerebral than they might appear. The editorial environment sharpened her instincts and gave her a professional vocabulary that extended well beyond aesthetics alone. From there, the move into fashion styling felt organic. It was a natural extension of everything she had already been doing, but it demanded a new combination of skills. Styling requires creativity, yes, but also an understanding of the person or concept being dressed, the mood being communicated, and the market being addressed. Elena brought her model's intuition and her editor's precision into this new role, and the combination proved to be powerful. She began to develop a reputation as someone who didn't just put clothes together, but told stories through them. Someone who understood fashion as a form of art rather than a commercial exercise. Her career began attracting international attention in ways that might surprise those unfamiliar with her work. In 2014, she contributed styling to the Paris edition of L'Officiel, one of fashion's most storied publications, based in one of its most demanding cities. For a stylist who had grown up professionally in Eastern Europe, breaking into the Parisian fashion world was no small achievement. Paris operates as a proving ground where only genuinely skilled stylists earn their place, and Elena earned hers. That same year, she contributed to Harper's Bazaar Mexico, another publication with high editorial standards and a discerning readership, further extending her reach across continents. By 2015, her work had spread even further. She styled the August cover of L'Officiel Arabia, a prestigious publication with significant influence across the Middle East, an achievement that speaks to her ability to understand and cater to vastly different cultural aesthetics. Around the same time, she was contributing to editorial work for the South China Morning Post magazine, with a piece titled Rustic Femininity that demonstrated her capacity to blend themes across cultural lines. Each of these accomplishments represented a different market, a different audience, and a different set of expectations, and she met each one with the same level of craft and precision. What these milestones collectively reveal is not just a stylist with an impressive resume, but a creative professional with a genuinely cross-cultural sensibility. Many stylists build strong regional reputations, but struggle to translate their vision across borders. Elena did the opposite. She built a career that moved fluidly from Russia to Western Europe to the Middle East to Asia, suggesting a visual language that, while rooted in specific experiences, communicates universally. This is a rare ability, and it is the kind of talent that earns lasting respect in an industry as competitive and image-conscious as fashion. In 2011, she took what may have been her boldest professional step. She founded the Moussa Project, her own design company. This was not a vanity exercise or a celebrity-adjacent venture. It was a serious entrepreneurial commitment that required her to bring together her creative instincts and her business acumen in a single enterprise. Running a design company means managing not just the creative output, but the operational demands of branding, client relations, financial decisions, and team leadership. Elena took all of this on, and in doing so, she transformed her professional identity once again, this time from stylist to founder and creative director. The Moussa project became a space for experimentation and collaboration. She worked with photographers, models, and fellow creatives, often drawing on shared cultural backgrounds or artistic values to create work that felt both cohesive and distinctive. The project expanded her influence while keeping her focus where it has always been, on the work itself. She partnered with artists like Russian photographer Kat Erlin, whose eye complemented her own, producing imagery that elevated both their profiles. The Ellie Project, a recognized creative industry platform, highlighted her work, placing her alongside leading designers and stylists operating at the forefront of the industry. Through all of this, Elena maintained what has become perhaps her most defining characteristic, a deep commitment to privacy. In an era where visibility is often equated with value, she has chosen a different path. Her social media presence is minimal and carefully considered. What she does share publicly tends to focus on her professional interests, fashion, interior design, the aesthetic dimensions of her creative life, rather than the personal details that drive most celebrity-adjacent social media engagement. This restraint is not accidental. It reflects a clear philosophy about identity and worth. She believes that the work should carry more weight than the personal narrative constructed around it. This philosophy extends into her home life with Greg Gutfeld. The two of them have, by most accounts, created something genuinely unusual in the world of media and celebrity, a private, stable, mutually supportive partnership that has remained largely outside the public gaze for nearly 2 decades. Greg, while more active on social media than his wife, follows a similar principle of selective sharing. His posts involving Elena tend to be warm and genuine, birthday tributes, family moments, light-hearted glimpses of their life together, rather than the kind of performative intimacy that often characterizes celebrity social media. Their French bulldog, Gus, makes regular appearances in these posts, offering an endearing and humanizing detail that connects them to something simple and real amid the noise of their public careers. Their story began in 2004 at a Maxim conference held in Portugal, where editors from around the world had gathered. Greg had recently stepped into his role as editor of Maxim UK, and Elena was working as photo editor for Maxim Russia. They were assigned neighboring hotel rooms, a small logistical coincidence that would turn out to matter enormously. Greg was immediately drawn to her, though Elena, naturally private and professionally focused, did not make it easy. She kept her distance initially, and Greg, to his credit, didn't force the connection. He was patient and consistent, allowing things to develop at a pace that felt natural rather than pressured. Over the course of several days, the hesitation began to soften. Curiosity replaced caution, and something genuine began to take shape. A first date followed, and not long after, Elena made a decision that said everything about the strength of what they had found together. She chose to leave Russia and move to London to be with him. It was not a cautious or calculated move. It was a leap, a willingness to trade the familiar for something uncertain because the connection felt worth the risk. That spirit of committed risk-taking has, by all accounts, defined their partnership ever since. Just 5 months after meeting at that conference in Portugal, they married in a civil ceremony in New York. It was quiet, private, and entirely in keeping with who they both are. There was no spectacle, no grand public announcement, no media moment. Just a decision, made quickly but with great certainty, to build a life together. The speed might raise eyebrows from the outside, but those who understand them describe it as a reflection of conviction rather than impulsiveness. They had found something rare, and they recognized it. Their relationship was tested early. In 2006, Greg's tenure at Maxim UK came to an end, a professional setback that brought uncertainty into their lives. Moments like these reveal the true nature of any partnership, and for Greg and Elena, It appears to have only reinforced the strength of what they had built together. They navigated the transition as a unit, their private life providing a source of stability during a professionally turbulent period. In the years that followed, Greg's career took him to Fox News, where he has become one of the most prominent hosts on the network. Elena, meanwhile, continued building her own professional legacy on her own terms. What makes their story genuinely compelling is not the fame, the fashion, or the Fox News connection. It is the way two people with very different professional lives, one defined by public visibility, the other by deliberate discretion, have constructed a partnership rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and a common understanding of what matters. They live and work in New York City, a place that could easily consume them with its pace and its social demands, but they have chosen to use it differently. Their home functions as a sanctuary, a place where the noise of their respective industries can be shut out in favor of something quieter and more sustaining. Elena Moussa is, in the most meaningful sense, her own person. She has built a career that stands entirely on its own merits, shaped by talent developed over decades and expressed across continents. She is not a footnote in someone else's story. She is a stylist of international reputation, a founder, a creative director, and a woman who has figured out how to maintain genuine influence without sacrificing the privacy she values above almost everything else. Her journey from Russian model to global fashion force represents a kind of success that rarely gets the attention it deserves, quiet, purposeful, and entirely authentic. Together, Greg Gutfeld and Elena Moussa offer a portrait of a modern partnership that defies the usual templates. They have built something real, protected it carefully, and continued to grow both individually and together. In a world that rewards exposure and punishes restraint, their choice to live differently is itself a kind of statement. That excellence speaks for itself, that privacy is not a limitation but a strength, and that the most meaningful lives are often the ones least visible to the public eye.